What's up? My name is Melissa, and this is Wild on glasshouseradio.com, part of the Howard University Radio Network. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wild. Today's guest, I am so excited. Her name is Chef Jazz, and she's amazing. She specializes in culinary cannabis. This is about to be a wonderful conversation. So you know how we do it. Before we get started, before we go into it, let me give you the bio of Chef Jazz. Chef Jazz, Jazmine Moore, grew up in a unique household. Her mother was both a restaurateur who cooked a wide variety of food and a firm believer of homeopathic remedies. Chef Jazz grew up knowing that foods have their own medicinal properties and that eating well was the foundation of wealth. Then, in 2006, Chef Jazz was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in her last year of Culinary College. She felt awful and was losing a lot of weight, felt a lot of anxiety, and had trouble sleeping. So desperate to feel better, she first tried the prescriptions from her doctor with the enormous side effects. Then Chef Jazz returned to her homeopathic roots and started experimenting with cannabis and CBD in the form of consuming and inhaling. Once she found the strain and method that worked best for her through her extensive trial and error, she discovered not only did her appetite increase, she also felt calmer and less anxious. Within a year, she stopped taking her prescription medicine and had gained back the weight she lost. It was in full remission by 2008. Wanting to share her unique knowledge with others, she started offering friends and family an edible experience designed to provide an elevated dining experience. Her meals and gatherings were a huge hit in Washington, D.C. among area patients. After the passing of the intubated 71, it wasn't long before she was offering the service to serve a wider demographic with gauge life to Green Panther Chef. Since the Green Panther Chef has expanded into the portfolio to include culinary CBD products, wellness consulting, and educational cooking classes.
Yes.
Okay, guys, wild people, here goes Chef Jess. Hi!
I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, I'm so excited. Oh my God. So like you know what you do? Like you're like a superwoman. Like you're breaking myths, stereotypes, and everything. Like
Absolutely. Gotta be a pioneer, right?
Oh my God. Gotta be a pioneer. So, okay, so we know your mother is a wonderful chef, and then that's how you decided to become a chef. But walk us through culinary and the whole journey, because this is a lot.
So, like you said, my mother was the one who kind of taught me the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. My mother and my grandmother. Okay. When I first fell in love with cooking, I remember being in the kitchen and I was grating carrots for a salad. Mm-hmm. And I cut my finger. And for whatever reason, that just kind of sparked my interest. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the reaction of the food, like how people, like the instant gratification, right? So I absolutely loved it. My grandmother kind of balanced it out with those Southern recipes. My mom was a vegan restaurateur before it was a whole entire thing. So we're all about pioneering, right? Okay. And so, I went to culinary school in 2002, Baltimore International Culinary College. Graduated in 2006 with my hospitality management degree. Mm-hmm. But I really primarily went there to hone in my skills, perfect my craft, you know?
And then how did you get into cannabis? Please.
So, great story. Right before graduation, this was like the last year, 2006-ish, 5-ish, right? I started feeling sick. I started feeling ill and, power woman, push through.
And you found out you had Crohn's disease.
And so after that, my family, my friends encouraged me to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. And so I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease probably right after culinary school. And I was bedridden. I dropped down to 84 pounds. I was put on 5 medications. And so I really started cooking with cannabis out of desperation.
And so, okay, so cooking with cannabis, like, was there a chef that taught you how to cook with cannabis, or like explain the training and proper? Because it's not like you know, when people think of, oh, you cook with cannabis, you think of somebody up the street, baby from up the street that's like selling on the low that you gotta go through a back door. Nah, she's not that. She is a culinary cannabis chef. She's not what you know. This ain't giving Day baby up Ty Tyrone, you know, Pookie. What you know the group.
Yes.
It's not that, y'all. No, this is a professional. Like, you know, when you see the movies and stuff with the big white hats and that she does that.
I got those pictures too.
Let them know.
So I know, right? Gotta drop those cred bars. But no, seriously, what started, I actually got introduced to a doctor by my mother. Okay. And so he was just like, hey, have you heard of cannabis? You know, and me being from DC, I didn't want to be a stoner, and I didn't want to be sick and bedridden on top of that. So I was like, absolutely not. I mean,
so you wasn't a smoker before?
Oh, heck no.
Okay,
I wasn't into it. I was like, look, like, it was just a whole stigma, right, that we can talk about.
That's what I wanted to talk about, the stigma. But keep going. Keep telling the story.
It was completely associated with it. And, you know, like, at this point, I'm on 5 medications. I'm 84 pounds. My doctor is like, all right, in a year, you'll have a bag in your stomach like everyone else. And I'm like, look, I'm 23 years old. Absolutely not.
Right.
And so I started to do the work and started to do the research. And so I started pairing my culinary expertise with just like experimenting with cannabis. So reading studies, working with this naturopathic doctor, a lot of trial and error, keeping a cannabis and food journal. It was a journey. It's a whole journey till this day, you know, but 13 years later, I'm no longer on any of those medications.
Amen. No, that's a journey, because it felt like a death sentence probably when you heard that you was a Crohn disease, but through this, I say, lifestyle change, it opened up to your purpose. Mm-hmm. And that is why we call her wild, because y'all know, guys, we go against the norm. So first let's get into the foods for my foodies out there. So it's more than edibles. Can you talk about the food?
Yeah, definitely. So Green Panther Chef is a full service cannabis catering company. So our menu right now, we probably have around like 42 items that are on it. My background, I'm trained in French cooking. Okay. So I do like to take like those rich flavors and then pair it with like the Southern style just a little bit. And then vegetarian, vegan. So it's a whole hodgepodge of our menu, you know. So we're a lot more than just gummies and brownies and Rice Krispie treats and hard candies.
I think like debunking the myth and the stigma is that everyone think, oh, so it's just edibles.
Yeah.
It's more than edibles, guys. No, so let's just give a dish that you would make that like I saw on her Instagram page is amazing, guys. Go to her Instagram page. Drop it real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's at Green Panther Chef.
Okay, yes, she has a seafood pasta dish and you're telling me this, so that seafood, it has clams, guys, it has everything. It has cannabis in it?
Seafood paella. That's what you're probably talking about.
Yes, seafood paella.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of things when we talk about cannabis is hydrophilic or hydrophobic. And so what that means is it does not like water. So it does like things that are fat soluble. So what we use to infuse in that process was the extra virgin olive oil.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so all right, so now we know what a cannabis chef is, and she is. Let's just go with getting rid of the stigma. When we automatically, you said before that you wasn't a consumer of cannabis before any of this, and this opened your journey. What have you learned during your journey of getting rid of the stigma?
Don't judge. I think that we throw a lot of judgment around, like what works for one person may not work for everyone else, right? And so if 10 medication works for you and taking doctor's orders, that's absolutely fine, you know? But you have to be able and willing to live the life on your terms. You understand? And what works for you.
That makes very much sense. So how do you tell people this? Because I know people look at you must be like a pothead stoner on like, and you have to kindly say, no, I'm educated. No, I can talk. No, I'm not, down the street.
Exactly. And that's just the stigma. Like, we really do have to have a lot more patience. Don't be so judgmental, because for years we've just seen, certain types of images of people who have smoked, right? So if you're a mother, which I am, if you're a student, a business owner, a Black woman, it's automatically, I put you into a box, right? So yeah, we do have to come first off with your credibility. That's the one thing that you have to talk about, and that you're not just baby from around the corner, but you actually can stand on something. And then your willingness to help other people. That's what it really is. I share my story all the time because I really hope that someone can just find some type of similarity in it. So maybe they can just pinprick their mind. Not saying that you have to use cannabis, but just open up like, hey, this works for other people.
Right. And also talk about the different ways of you can get cannabis in your body, because most people just think of smoking, and you talked about inhaling was one of your ways, and food. So can you talk about it?
Yeah, so it kind of falls into two buckets. So inhaling, and then you have consuming.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, if you're inhaling, that's very traditional, where you have a vape if you're smoking or something like that. And so if you are consuming or eating it, typically how that is in the form of an edible. You can put it under your tongue in the form of a tincture as well. So there are just different ways, topicals that you can rub onto your body as well. So yeah, your skin is the largest organ. So rubbing on cannabis oil helps.
So unlearning and relearning. I'm always about, as an adult, I feel like I'm doing more learning than I did when I was, a child, because I'm unlearning what was taught to me that doesn't help me grow. Can you talk about what you had to unlearn and relearn during the business of cannabis, during the business of just the whole entire cannabis world?
Talk about one thing. Entrepreneurship has been a journey. It has taught me so much about myself, and what I would tolerate and what I will not tolerate. And so just in this industry, you really have to have a sense of self as well, so you can really understand what do you want to accomplish out of this. Yeah.
So describe the industry. Are you the only Black female?
No. And the thing is, I just hopped off at a webinar before you came over. And how it is literally I communicate with people all over. I know COVID, we're in the house stuck. I was just on a webinar talking to some fabulous Black chefs, females, right? Who are in California, and then I know people who are in New York, Chef Swan, like all over. So yeah, we just really, it's a tight knit circle, it isn't many of us. So we probably do know one another, but yeah.
So navigating in this cannabis world, have you ran into, I would say, maybe white resistance? Because cannabis seems like it's okay for maybe Caucasians to do it, but we get penalized as Blacks to do it.
See, you know what? Yes, but then I really try not to focus on what I do not want to have in my life, if that makes sense, right? I went to Culinary College, me working in the food industry and in restaurants. First off, that's dominated by white men, especially chefs, So understanding your feminine power, understanding what you want, staying positive, not judging. These are things. So it's always going to come. It's always going to be a naysayer. You understand? But really focusing on your focus is all I'm about.
No, that makes total sense. So, all right, so let's paint this image. You are a Black woman a young Black woman who is in the cannabis world, and you're just blazing it. You're going back and forth and stuff. Where do you get your sources? Not saying where do you get I wouldn't say buy your cannabis, how do you go about trusting who you get your cannabis from?
Oh, you have to. We work with dispensaries primarily. You do not want to just get anything off the street. I mean, you can if you want, no judgment here. Hey, right? But the thing is, when I teach classes and you want to talk about repeatable results, you really want to know your numbers, right? And so if you're just doing it to smoke and just have general, calm down your anxiety, go for it, But always deal with someone who you do know, like, and trust.
Because, of course, we're talking about the positive sides, but there is dark sides to the cannabis world that we would be remorse not to talk about. Can you talk about a little bit about maybe the risk factors of just talking it, because the positives, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, with it not being federally legal, that's one of the biggest risks. I'm in Washington, D.C. with Initiative 71. We're still in this gray area here, so it's somewhat legal, somewhat not. And it's kind of like, what is going on, So that's a major risk, operating in this space without really insurance of is the industry going to be legalized 5 years out? But with us winning so big during the election, I definitely see the trajectory towards federal legalization. But just knowing the risk when you're starting a business, just knowing that Yeah, this is federally legal.
Because some people romanticize entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is something.
It's a grind.
It's a grind. It should not be romanticized. You know, like it's like right now we in her apartment on a Apple box.
Yes.
Like, yo, we getting this done. That's what I mean. It's a grind.
Yes, all day.
No, so this is like, I'm just so mind blowing because it's just like you are a disruptor. You know that, right?
I appreciate that.
You're a disruptor. You're breaking barriers. What would you define yourself as being wild?
What would I define as being wild?
Yes.
I would define someone who has the mental fortitude, the confidence to go after what they want. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. Unapologetically. Like, it's like my motto is that I don't give no shit, but I don't take no shit. Mm-hmm. And so that's exactly how it is. Right. You know, just that's what a wild person is to me. Someone who is very confident in the direction that they want to go in their life, and they're going to make it happen by any means possible.
No, that's what's wild. Because when I think of wild, that you read what I sent, but I think of wild. That's why I think of a person who's wild. I think of a person going against the norm, and just seeing wonderful Black women is just amazing to see them doing something so different. All right, so war on drugs and cannabis. Now, America has to do a lot of payback because of cannabis has been something that has been got a lot of our brothers and sisters locked up for a long time and very just it's a complicated. What are your views and thoughts on this, especially being a cannabis chef and the whole yaya of it?
It's amazing, and this is a delicate topic,
okay,
right?
No, go ahead.
But it's a real topic.
Yeah.
It's a discussion that must be had. I see this in the industry. I was at MJ BizCon last year, right? And you see a lot of faces that do not look like me. Right. Call it what it is. You see a lot of white men in their blue suits, brown shoes, and their red ties. And it's just like, wow, when did this become the face of cannabis? Because I remember a few years ago, it was different associations.
It was what they think of called.
Exactly.
You know that term, y'all.
Quote unquote. Let's just fill in the blank.
Yes.
So, I mean, what I feel, yes, due cause. You have prisons that are filled with Black men who have sold a dime bag. Yes. And they ain't never coming back. Because then the reason is because they make more money on them in the prison system. And so when they come out, they really can't even contribute to society because they're so institutionalized. That's on a whole different topic. But yeah, conversations around social equity, conversations around diversity, conversations around just like really reciprocity, you know, as well. So yeah.
No, it's crazy because like you said, so many of us, and now that it is becoming a business, a legitimate business that is gonna, to me, I think there's so many wonders that hasn't even been taught on cannabis yet. Like there's so magical. And with saying that, it's like, how do we repair the relationships? And then also, is it hard for Black people in general to break in the cannabis world because it's still in Silicon Valley? It seems like, you know, I remember reading an article that a lot of Black people was trying to put up money, their retirement, but because of the racism that it was a resistance. So is it still that hard for just Black people to break in cannabis world?
Okay, so there is a high barrier of entry. I know one woman, Hope Wiseman. She is the youngest dispensary owner.
Yes, she's PG.
Yeah, and PG just did a virtual conference, but neither here nor there. But just understanding her story and the vision of what she wanted for the cannabis industry and her getting in it is just an inspiration, right? No. And so, will I say it is difficult? Yes. The reason being is because there is a high barrier of entry when it comes to the finances that you have to put up, right? Most people want to either own a dispensary or something like that, but there are different entry points as to get into the kind of cannabis industry. And that's what I really want to talk about because a lot of people are like, hey, it's the gold rush. Let's hit it big with going into a dispensary or let's open up whatever big. But a lot of people are like, hey, if you are an accountant, how about you take those skills and become a cannabis accountant? Like, it doesn't have to be all of this super high fluff. You know, you can get into the cannabis industry right where you are, market to who you want to market, and be just fine. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. And then keeping your community tight. Like I said, I was over in California virtually, quote unquote, with someone who I met a year ago because those relationships are important. you know? And so is it difficult? It depends on how you want to get in, you know? Yeah. And if you have the fortitude, you can do it.
Right. And so you're saying there's many different ways, there's many different viewpoints and getting to it. So let's go back to you saying you had Crohn's disease. Crohn disease. And with saying you had Crohn disease, you was on so many prescriptions. Can you describe your experience when using cannabis, getting rid of prescriptions? Because I feel that is a secret that I'm starting to learn in my journey, that that is so powerful.
Yeah. So coming from the medications, they made me very lethargic. That's why I was kind of like giving pushback when I first started smoking, because I was like, maybe it was similar to, right now it's totally different. But when I first started experimenting and using cannabis, I did inhale, but it stimulated my appetite. And having Crohn's disease, I mean, it's a gastrointestinal issue for people who don't understand or know about it, but it, to be hungry, and to actually be able to keep your food down, that's huge, you know, for someone like me who couldn't eat literally, or just eating liquids for a year almost, or 8 months straight, you know. And so I just found it very refreshing that I could enjoy food again. That was my first, and I was like, this is hitting on something.
Right. And so with some people might say, well, this is good and all, but you're starting an addiction. Please tell them why it's not that. It's not like getting something off the street, because I just want to emphasize, this is not a situation where you can develop an addiction of a...
One word that I always say is endocannabinoid system. The cannabinoids that are found inside of cannabis are actually produced inside of your body. So phytocannabinoids come from the cannabis plant, and then endocannabinoids are produced by your body. And so when we are inhaling cannabis, it's actually just kind of like levers, you know, where it's kind of like, hey, if I'm a little bit low on this one, this cannabinoid is going to filter it out or help it or boost it or whatever it is. So it isn't more about an addiction. It's more about balancing your system in homeostasis. And so you do not have to be high to be healthy. You can microdose. You don't have to be in a sedative state all the time.
And get more into that, because I think most people just think it's so you taking cannabis, whether you're doing inhaling or do you do edibles or food or cuisine, that you know that you're going to be high all the time. It does not have to be that. Like, get into the science of it, because that goes back to debunking the myths of thinking that, like, so if I was to eat edible right now, I'm going to be high as a kite, or I'll be high.
Yeah, definitely. And so first off, you have to know your numbers. That's what I always talk about.
And numbers, what you mean numbers?
And so there's few, right? So when we're talking about knowing your numbers, that comes down to dosing, right? And so I work with a lot of people who want to know how to make their own edibles, dose their own edibles. So knowing your decarboxylation temperature, knowing the decarboxylation weight, knowing the percentage of cannabis, the units of measurement, and then you also have to know the servings per recipe as well. And so there's a kind of like a plug and play that I'll teach you, and then it's like all about repeatable results. But to get back on microdosing, that's extremely important, because it touches to the point that you do not have to be high throughout the day. You can take something in a 0.5, right? Or anything that is below 5 milligrams is considered a microdose. I mean, I would even say 2.5, you know, but a 2.5 dose, or a tincture, or a gummy, or breaking up a chocolate, or whatever, however you're dosing yourself, that's perfect. And then doing it throughout the day. My thing is, I like to start my day off with a juice, right? Yes. And I'd use non-decarboxylated cannabis, because I want the THCA benefits, the anti-inflammatory, right? And then in the middle of the day, I'll maybe do like a quinoa bowl with roasted vegetables, and I'll have a dressing that I'll put over top of it. And then in the evening, I might inhale if I want to, but then I'll just do another dose, you know? So like throughout the day, I typically go up to around like 15 milligrams to 20 milligrams.
So it's not this whole like I'm high as a...
No.
I hate the word stoner. I really hate the word stoner, but I'm the traditional stigma with stoner, like red eyes, like, you know, all this. It's not that. It's literally helping you level your systems out.
Yeah.
So how was that helping anxiety and depression? I know that's amazing with your clients. Have you noticed like clients who really suffer with anxiety, depression do like literally a 365 twist?
And see, and this is when you really have to know about cannabinoids and cannabis strains and stuff like that, right? Because anxiety is definitely a touchy topic because it can have adverse effects. Right?
Yes.
So like say that you are inhaling and some people are like, oh, I'm super paranoid. I hate cannabis. It's all to crap, right?
Yeah.
You have to look at terpenes and you have to look at the cannabinoid profile. If you do too much THC and you are prone to have anxiety, that's probably going to push you over the edge. If you're dealing with limonene or strand that's higher in limonene, that's probably going to push you over the edge. So knowing things like that, maybe you need something like a myrcene with a high CBD and just take a puff and chill. Like you don't have to face the whole J it's just different modalities.
No, it's very different. No, that goes to like the conversation you talked about in your bio, having a strain, like your perfect strand. That's why it's so important, because I think people just think, just my journey of just dibbling and dabbling with cannabis was just that, like, if I take something, it's like literally an edible. It's like I'm just literally so high. And that's also been a lot of smokers or a lot of people who deal with cannabis. That's the one thing they say about it's just that, like, with a J or wherever you want to define it, is that I could put it out. With a edible, it's like no. And so can you even touch on that? Because now you're breaking the stigma and myth of that, and that's not really true.
Exactly. Touching back on that is just microdosing. Yes, you can put it down. Point of entry though, when you are introducing cannabis through food, keeping the cannabis and food journal, I have mine like up here. It's like a claim to fame. Like what works, what does not work. Did I overdose in this area? Did this strand work for me? You know, and so this is what really helps people for people who are dealing with issues, who want to introduce cannabis, right? So as far as people who are doing edibles, low and slow. I know you probably heard that a billion times, but literally just keeping your dose at least 2.5 and under and not dosing again for another 90 minutes. Like if you have that much of anxiety or if you want to finish that whole candy bar, maybe just take off a piece of whatever the infused candy bar is and have another Hershey's that is not infused that you can eat. But facing the whole bar is not an option.
No.
That not an option.
No, so it's saying, and you can control it and stuff. Would you say this is what cannabis can be used for children?
CBD.
Yes.
I know people with not personally, but I know that there are successes in people who have schizophrenia and Tourette's who use.
So it could be used
seizures.
For autism, Down
seizures.
syndrome. Yes,
I've seen videos of people. They'll put a drop of CBD oil underneath their tongue, you know, and it actually calms them down. Because once again, it is balancing and leveling out. Because the endocannabinoid system, the phytocannabinoids, they kind of marry with the endocannabinoids and level out. So, like if you're having a seizure and you're low in whatever, if you inhale this or if you take this under your tongue, it can level it out to probably give you some type of homeostasis.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it can be used. Oh, so where do you see the cannabis industry going? Because like you're saying that we could use this for food, medical. Do you even think for a healthy weight? Like, let's go there. Okay. Let's go to the first question. Where do you see it going? And then we're going to come back to weight loss and weight and everything.
Yeah. So where do I see it going? I see it going to boutique. Really? Yeah. Right now, yes, we're in our infancy and people are like, oh my God, cannabis industry and we won big. And I've been in this game for about 5 years now. And so what I really am seeing is a trend towards the boutique. Right? In your specific user. It isn't just the cannabis industry. It is the Black woman who's a single mother who is married with 2 kids. That's who I'm serving. Or it's that type of imagery. That's where I see it going as far as brands really catering to certain populations and not just blanketing. All right, you're a cannabis user, you need this.
No, so that's why people like Hope is so important, because you know, when America introduced something that is wonderful, most of the time Black people are eliminated from that conversation. So how can Black people still stay in that conversation? Because with this becoming big, and I feel like the more research, the more things that come out, that this has the potential and level to just literally help eliminate prescription drugs.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have their place for sure. But what I will say is that collaboration over competition any day, like that is the only way through anything that we are going to win. You know, especially being a Black person, a woman, like we don't have to be left out of the conversation. And I mean, like they have their own table. I'm gonna build one. I'm gonna pull up a chair. Like, I mean, there is no stopping it. You understand? So that's just what it is.
No, okay. So we went back to it, but let's go back to it. You're telling me cannabis can help with weight loss?
Yeah. Cannabis can definitely help with weight loss, and depending on what type of strand you use. It totally depends on that. Yes, it is an appetite stimulant, some people say, but when you are dealing with, like, say you have a strand that is higher in CBD, it more so isn't going to stimulate the appetite. It's just going to give you more of a sedative type of effect, or like a, not a sedative. It just makes... I don't know. Because it's different from THC, right? So it's not sedative like you're sleepy, but you just feel like everything is all good, right? And so I was just doing some research, and that actually, when people are in that type of state, they don't overeat.
Right.
Yeah.
No. So you keep going about the strain. You keep emphasizing the strain. How many strains are there?
They come out with stuff all the time. Like, I know when I was first starting out, it was like Calm Bud and Silver Haze. That was like the most exotic that you can ever get, right? Now we got like Purple Panty Dropper, we got Purple Rain, we got like just everything.
Yeah. There's so many strands.
And the reason why there are so many is because I love Blue Dream when I first started out, right? And then Charlotte's Web, like, so people are just marrying different strains.
And these are all plants.
And these are all plants.
This is all organic. This is not something that someone made. This is all plants.
Absolutely. And they just come up with these names. Like Cookies is a really big one now.
Yes.
But you just don't grow a strain called Cookies. Right. You know, it's probably a hybrid of other strains. And so just, stuff like that.
No, this is, well, okay. This is just amazing. Like, I've been mind blown. Like, yes, like, where do we go? So we're staying there. Where would you go? Let's talk about Netflix. Netflix have been having a cannabis show lately. Do you see yourself getting in one of those shows? I feel like you would be amazing for them.
Everyone says that. You know what? I would come as a host.
Hey.
I mean, will I compete? Absolutely. It's great exposure, you know, but I was having a conversation. I think that we really have to talk about, because we're not here yet, we have to talk about the approachability of cooking with cannabis. And so when we look at sometimes those big shows, naming no names, but looking at these bigger shows, sometimes it makes people intimidated, and it looks like a novelty when we're cooking with cannabis. It's like, oh, let me get these bubbles that are in jelly and all of these, you know, and it's kind of like, okay, those are cute and they're visually beautiful, but it's like, how does that help me, you know? So yes, we do dinner parties and we can do all of that, but a lot of people do approach me because they have anxiety, they have insomnia, they have a gastrointestinal issue, and they're like, I saw Bon Appetit and I don't have a smoke gun. It's like, look, you probably got something in your kitchen right now that you can use.
Yes. Okay, so we have to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back with Chef Jazz and talking about everything cannabis. Remember to check out Wild Theme Music playlist on Apple Music. Every wild person needs theme music. Each week, our guests create their own theme music playlist. Check it out on Apple Music playlist. Go to _WILDHUMAN_IG Wild Human page and click the link tree for the playlist. This is Melissa on glasshouseradio.com, part of the Howard University Radio Network, and this is Wild. Welcome back. Okay, guys, we are here with Chef Jazz talking about everything about cannabis. So just in a couple minutes, let me just, if you just coming back in, let me just give you, recap of our conversation. She already debunked the stereotypes of cannabis. She is a Black female showing that cannabis does not have to be day baby from down the street. It's actually can be a powerful tool that can help with so many issues that we are dealing with as people and humans. That cannabis is actually just, we already have what cannabis in us besides us, and that we're just helping the levels calm down. That the industry, yes, it's been hard to break in, but if you have the determination, the power, the willpower, you can get in. That cannabis might actually help with just even diseases such as autism, Down syndrome, I feel like you're just Dr. Sadie. Like I honestly, no, for real. Like I feel like you're in
not even
like in not even if y'all familiar with Dr. Sadie, yes. But feeling that journey of showing the power of organic and holistic.
Yes.
Because like through my holistic journey, I'm really starting to understand. Wow, there's a power that we have lost. That maybe we had as ancestors when we came over to this country, but we lost the power of a herb. Can you just explain how a herb is just so important?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's amazing. I mean, one with my story, being a Crohn survivor, and then just seeing how it helps children who deal with some type of medical condition, like you said, autism, or having seizures, So just the power of the plant and understanding how to use it is extremely important. Not being judgmental around the people who do use it, and then, hey, understanding and educating yourself. Check out Green Panther Chef with some courses.
Yes, no, yes. No, because it's literally going back to what I said about Dr. Sadie. It's just the holistic. It's just things that have been robbed of us that we don't even know. I think so many times when we think we have an issue, we immediately are supposed to go to the doctors, and not even a holistic doctor, just a doctor, and get prescription, and that's supposed to be treating a disease. But you're telling us no.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's interesting because I always say doctors practice medicine. That's the operative word. Practice medicine on you, and so there is no definitive all right, you're going to die in 6 months type. I mean, if you take that and you truly believe it, and I'm not saying that some cases that's a blanket, it's a generalization, yes. But I'm also saying that you do have to take your own health into your own hands.
No, so do you feel like the cannabis, do you feel like, with going back to Dr. Sadie and everything, do you feel like the cannabis has the cure to cure diseases?
See, the FDA might come down on me if I say something like that, right? Because we are kind of sewed up. Does it have the ability to cure? I would say that it definitely has the ability to give you a better quality of life, for sure. And with conjunction of lifestyle, cannabis, food, it's a part of a whole entire system as I see cannabis, right? And so actually having a healthy diet, utilizing cannabis, exercising, having a mindful type of lifestyle, that all plays into holistic happiness, right? And so cannabis is just one lever that we can pull on.
Right. It's still, with using cannabis and getting into the cannabis world, it doesn't take away from eating healthy. It doesn't take away from doing your mindful energy, doing all those things and stuff.
Meditation, all of that.
All of that, because it's just a tool. It's not a destination at the end. I'm just literally, guys, I'm shocked, and I'm just learning so much just having this conversation. So what would you tell somebody who is literally, I say, maybe in a community where is looked down on, and they want to venture into this world because it's first of all, I really love consuming it, and I think it can really help me.
One, if you have any skills, even if they are pertaining or relative to cannabis, or if it's something that is completely ancillary, is what they call it, right? Excuse me, utilizing those skills, like I touched on earlier, someone was an accountant, and they're now only doing forensic accounting for cannabis businesses, That's a big thing with 280E and stuff like that. Looking at the trending, where are we going with the industry, and where can you really plug in with 280E? That's a huge one for cannabis businesses. They got to make sure their stuff is all the way correct. So understand, if you're an accountant, go in, help them, what can I do to serve this client? Understanding who your clientele is, who you're marketing to. I understand we want to make all the money, but that is so unrealistic, because we really are looking at different populations and different segments of people and making it more relatable. So who are you going to serve? Who are you going to help? And then that's about it.
No, okay. So now we're changing gears. Let's go into your playlist, because since you're literally going into uncharted territory that has never been done before. This is when I mean wow, because this is literally amazing. Like, you're literally on a break of a history revolution that I think that is just about to really change the world and really provide people with some relief. Mm-hmm. And so we're saying that you have to have a dim music playlist. You have to have something that gets you in the zone, because I know you have to go out and literally every day when you tell them what you do. So you sell weed. No, you do not. No. First of all, you have to say, I'm a cannabis culinary chef.
I create edible experiences.
Yes. You have to bring it back. And then you have to, like, so what is your music playlist?
So, it's a hodgepodge of things.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so I'm going to have to share it to you. I can read some things off.
Yeah, just read some things off. Read some things off so people just get like a little hint.
So, I love me some reggae sometimes. Okay. So, Dexter Dabbs.
Okay.
Right? I got some DeMarco.
Okay.
On here. I love me some Alkaline.
Okay.
Sean Paul. Got to throw in the Megan Thee Stallion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I love that joint. Ride or Die. Bryson Tiller, always.
Okay.
The baby.
Okay.
I know, right?
It's okay.
Guadalupe.
Oh,
Guadalupe. I really like her. Raphael Sadiq is a really good one.
That's
Janet
an OG.
Jackson.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
OG.
Janet Jackson. I love her. Then The Dream.
That's an OG too.
Got him. Lizzo, Party Next Door.
Yes, okay.
For sure. I like him. And then a little bit of Gucci Mane.
No. That's cool. No, because also people probably think now you're holistic and like, so you're literally zen
all the day.
And like you have, don't get me wrong, I love sound baths, y'all. I love it, but probably sound baths are probably just playing all day and it's one with Mother Nature and two with Mother Nature. No, you come in, it's right.
Drop it.
No. So, but talked about the importance of having that tool to get you ready to go into the world, because I think people don't realize you need to have that tool in the world.
It's like an armor in a way, like before I go on stage or anywhere, I literally listen to my playlist. It kind of like gets me amped up, so if I'm listening to a little bit of reggae or something like that, it just puts me in this mental space. If I know I'm going to be in the kitchen or cooking all day, it puts me in a mental space where it's like, it's energetic enough, but it's still down enough, it's just a good balance where I can just kind of listen throughout the day, the ebbs and flows of life.
No, I get it. Okay, so this question just popped up in my head. How can cannabis help with COVID? Like this like, I feel like this can help, especially with anxiety. Everyone up on anxiety. Like, how can cannabis help with COVID?
Yeah, definitely helping with anxiety. Cannabis helps, one, because of the endocannabinoid system.
All right.
I was reading up on that as far as just like how it provides homeostasis. Big thing though, you do not want to smoke. That's just because it is a respiratory issue with COVID.
Yes.
So inhaling, if you're just introducing or you have weak lungs, you definitely do not want to consume cannabis by the form of inhaling it. All right. Mm-hmm. And so that's just a big one for COVID. But if you still want to use it, edibles are a great way. And then topicals too. It just creates a barrier, boosts immune system, And
that was another question I was about to ask. So do you think cannabis can help immune system?
Oh, yeah.
Like build your immune system.
It can definitely, and like I said, it is a lever, and so it isn't the cure-all, but
it's still, if you do health and everything,
it is absolutely a lever to health and happiness.
There's literally no end to cannabis.
No, it isn't. And it's a part of you. And for it to be like federally illegal, that's why they're trying to keep it out so bad. Like Sherman Williams, we can get on all of that. Like their paints back in the day, I think it was like in 1932, were all like cannabis based. Like you have Van Gogh paintings that were made out of like hemp, and it's like crazy.
It's literally natural. It's crazy that this thing, which just goes back into the importance of unlearning and relearning, because just like you talked about not being one to deal with it before because of the stereotype, I really wasn't until this year of school that I literally was like, okay, I'll try it, because I was so like, no, I'm not gonna be quote unquote a stonehead, a pothead, a this, a that. Like, I'm not gonna be this person who walk up high, like literally, like. And I just think about looking back through my undergrad experience, that if I would have had cannabis, well, my life would have been so much different, and that I wouldn't have to think about boo boo the fool. But like, it's literally something that is natural,
yes.
that is being banned from us, yes. that Mother Nature created.
Yes. And then that part, that's the conversation that needs to be had right there.
Then let's have it. Let's
like,
go.
Why is it actually banned and federally illegal? Because you have to look at like how it rivals almost every single industry, like the pharmaceutical industry, like manufacturing. Like you can make hemp plastic bottles. Like, I mean, there's so many different things that you can do in the versatility of it. And so they have already, I mean, with hemp, yes, with 2018, with the Farm Bill, that has actually come back in small batches. That's great. But looking at from the inception of why it was illegal in the first place, you understand? It's like because it rivals so many industries. It could put people out of business. And
that's the importance of us Black people we have to learn. Because so many things that I just think society has taught us, we don't even know why it's bad for us. Like, people put liquor and cannabis in the same category, and cannabis is so much healthier. It's not even, cannabis is healthy. Liquor is destroying your organs.
Like, no one has ever died from an overdose of cannabis that I have heard of,
unless it was with something else.
That
they wasn't talking about.
Exactly.
But the plant itself,
no, ma'am.
That's really scary. That America, this can have been helping for years and years and years and years, and this is literally something that, like, I remember, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, it was these Caucasian mothers, and they were talking about how they had a bag. I know that's one way of handling it, putting in the bag and stuff, how they just did it. That was how they calmed down, and they was a better mother and stuff. But that wasn't even talked about. It just disappeared and stuff. So you're telling me this is a plant that's natural, that Mother Nature made. This is not something that a man made. It's Mother Nature, and that the government is trying to keep that away from us.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because you have universities who study cannabis and have licenses and patents on the study of cannabis.
School,
I
chemistry.
know, right? Exactly. But we cannot, they want to put it in the form of Mural or whatever type of drug that they can regulate, instead of just giving access to the people.
Do you feel like if the cannabis community is not careful, that cannabis can become something owned by the FDA where we're no longer have access to it?
See, all right. So we look at Canada in a model, and I'm not saying that like the FDA, that's the same thing, but we look at that. Their system, when they first started, it was horrible, and because it was like big government that was so involved in it, and that means that the product was compromised. So the black market has been in existence way longer. So they're going to innovate. So if the FDA wants to do something like that, I mean, there are still ways to innovate around it. So it's like, do you really want to get into that space, or do you just want to control who puts products in that space?
Right.
You understand?
No.
Because that's just a little bit too much when the government starts dabbling, especially with cannabis.
Yes. Yeah. No, because that's just the biggest concern with me that I'm looking at, is that with this being such a powerful, because literally I have so many questions to ask you offline that we're going to talk because, I am mind blown. Okay, so back to going to with the cannabis community and stuff, that I just feel like now even having a glimpse of the beauty of what it possibly can have to just communities and stuff, that it can be taken away or being used for evil. Because I feel like if black people really, really start getting natural cannabis, not something that is, they know where their sources are coming from, and start getting natural, that it'll be like crack in the 80s, that people like the FDA or governments will try to
do something else with it. I mean, like, you have K2, you have fentanyl. I mean, let's talk about it. You have definitely things that are out here. But, I mean, I think that the cannabis consumer is a little bit more savvy, because if you're going to put something in my face and I know it's K2, like, I'm going to see that a mile away, because I've been in this game. So understanding, having a supplier that you know, like, and trust. If the FDA, like I said, wants to get into it, the black market, the legacy market, as I like to call it, has been around for forever. So when you talk, like, the cartels are strong. Let me just, they gonna figure something out.
No, and it is very true. Like, literally, I just think of the whole entire, there's
is that wrong? I said that?
No, it's not wrong. It's real. Like, we have to, I feel like in America, we have to be real that there is a black side. There's a black market. Sex trafficking is a very real thing. And that's a part of the black market that no one's still talking about. Like, we have to understand where there's light, there is darkness. Yes. Like, and that they do exist. Yes. And that we can't ignore these conversations. Yeah. Like, we're going to have a real conversation about society. We got to have. But that's a whole nother conversation, y'all. Okay, but before we wrap up with Chef Jazz, because trust me, I want you back on again, because to talk to just with more people and stuff. Oh my God, I have so many. Literally, y'all, Chef Jazz will definitely be a returning guest on Wild. Okay, but who is your Wild Award? Because, let me tell it to the people who's the first time listening to the Wild Award, is that it's somebody who paved the way. You can know them, or you don't have to know them. There's somebody who can be on TV, but they helped you, motivate you to get to where you want it to be, because we don't get here alone by ourselves. No one does.
I wouldn't even relate it to the industry, and this might sound so cliche, right?
Go ahead. It's your mama.
My mama!
But by the way, her mom is really cool.
And the thing is because I would not have my determination, my perseverance, my know-how. I mean, she was an entrepreneur way back in doing vegan. I grew up raw food vegan, and for me to be a pescatarian now, it's kind of like I am a rebel, So before this was even a thing, and my mom being in that space as a Black woman, it's just so much confidence was instilled in me through her, right. And so I have to give it to her.
No.
And my grandma. I stand on their shoulders.
No. Like, literally. No, there it is. Literally, she stands on the backs of the woman that came, and she's given to her mother and grandmother. Literally, the beauty of cannabis, guys. Like, literally, I am dumbfounded by the information.
I do want to say one other thing for the Wild Award.
Yes.
If that was so they always say that.
Go ahead, it's okay.
One person has really been pivotal in just my mindset and me just being a more positive thinker is Lisa Nichols. Don't know her.
Okay, who's Lisa Nichols?
But she is how she says, a transformational speaker. Ooh. And what she does is really just goes deep, and so you really find out who you are, what you want through her stories, through just how she communicates. It's been such an inspiration to just how I operate as a business owner. So her too.
Wow. So Chef Jazz, thank you for being on the show. I'm so happy. Guys, this is another episode of Wild. Each week, we have an episode. Check us out on our playlist. Check out our Instagram _Wild, WILD, human, HUMAN _ on IG. Check the link tree. Follow us, comment. Chef Jazz, where can they find you at?
Definitely. So all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Green Panther Chef. And then if you want to get in contact, info at greenpantherchef.com.
Wow. Okay. So my name is Melissa, and this is another episode of Wild on glasshouseradio.com, part of the Howard University Radio Network.